Hello,
Ooh.
and welcome to Alpha Book Club. This is the world's best online interactive book club that you can join anywhere with internet. Plus, it has wine. I'm your host, Hector Navarro.
Woo!
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, live studio audience. Also returning this week is Nerdist's own Amy Vorpahl. Amy.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Lovely to be here again with you and with Carrie and with another person with a great name.
You know her as managing editor of Nerdist and author of the upcoming, so excited about this, Women of the Galaxy.
Hot,
right?
Yeah.
Women of the Galaxy. Amy Ratcliffe is here, guys.
Yes.
Yay! Thank you for having me
Welcome back.
Yay.
I like books are pretty great. I'm always excited to do this show.
Tell us about your upcoming book. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. So it's a Star Wars book, which is insane and surreal on so many levels, called Star Wars Women of the Galaxy. It's about 75 female characters from the films, comics, games, books, so across the galaxy.
Ah.
Did you
With lots of art.
Did you have to do extra research? Or did you just know everything?
I feel like Amy's going to be able to know the 75 female characters. It's going to be Amy.
It was helpful to
that's
like,
what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I had a good base, but I definitely, it was helpful for me to know like, oh, I know this thing was in that book, and I just had to go pull it off my shelf.
Gotcha.
Or like
Gotcha.
rewatch some episodes of Clone Wars,
You're
like
but
what-
I know where to go.
You're
at
like a
least.
music producer who, when people are like, what sample would be good here in
Yes.
this bridge? And you're
To
like,
have that
oh, we
knowledge.
need
I know
this
where this
record
is.
on this
Yeah.
album, and we'll
Yeah.
spin it, and that'll
I
be
love
what
that.
So
we
it's
use.
awesome. And the
That's
best
so-
part, I
yeah.
think, is the art.
Yes.
We have art from 18 female and non-binary artists, over 100 illustrations that have some characters who have never been illustrated before.
Because they're
and
from
some-
books and stuff? Oh,
But I've seen you tweeting out some of the stuff, so some of the art has been released?
I've been tweeting
Or-
just examples, so I started this
Okay.
thread of all the artists and examples of their work.
What?
on
What?
Twitter.
That's
What?
okay. I didn't know if that was
So,
from the.
Just to be
Examples
like
of their work? Right.
their work with links to their website and
To
everything.
preview the upcoming book.
Yes, like this is the style. 'Cause they were really cool about letting artists do the characters and like in their own style instead of limiting
love
them
that.
to like a
I
certain
love that.
model.
That is really
So
cool.
I'm going to get real geeky with this. Is this like because I love this type of book because I'm a comic book guy. Is this like a encyclopedia type book? Is it a
narrative or-
yeah, is it like a showcase where like you have like stats of the characters and kind of where you can find them, or is it more just like like you said there's lots of art, is it like an art of type of book? Like can you say sort of what it is?
Yeah, because that was actually a really tricky thing was for us to nail down what we wanted it to be because it's not like it's a DK Publishing.
Right, which are like those visual encyclopedias.
Exhaustive.
They're gorgeous. They're great.
They're great.
Yeah.
So it's more of a celebration of a character, kind of
Love
with
it.
some highlights about their things they've done, their traits.
So it's like
their-
Wikipedia, but better and more specific.
Yes, and with
With
some
great
behind
art.
the scenes information.
And with behind the scenes, I was going to say it's
Oh,
not
cool.
all like sort of in story. There's
awesome.
so you'll be talking about some of the.
Do you include photos of like the actors who've played them, or
No, it's just the-
art?
yeah,
It's just
of
the art,
character.
but I
Okay,
mean,
cool.
but there'll be some interesting behind the scenes tidbits, which is great.
That is exciting.
Oh man, I had another question for you too. You mentioned 75 female characters.
Yes.
Is it, or can you not say, is it strictly relegated to canon, or are there legends stuff happening as well?
I cannot say.
Ooh.
There you go. You got it. You almost
Yeah.
got us exclusive.
I know, I
But you
almost
didn't
did.
quite nail it,
But
Hector.
that
You
is
got to
so-
be sneakier.
That is so exciting. Man, one of my dream jobs would be to be able to do something like that in a world of something that I love. Wouldn't that be awesome if you were like, oh Amy, we need you to do something like that
Yeah.
in like the Tolkien world, or like, you know,
Yeah,
Hector, you do
D&D.
something in like the superhero world, the
it's
D&D
well,
world.
they have those bestiaries and monster manuals
Yes.
already, but it would be
Yeah.
cool to like celebrate like the history of what the Beholder. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
it would just be like, oh, in second edition, he had these kind of.
You
stats
already
and-
lost me. That's
Okay.
great. That'd be such a great
All
book.
right, all right.
I would read the hell out of that book.
No, you
I'd be like, what is this? Amy Vorpahl wrote a book
so
about
much.
the second edition. Yeah, that's what but I'm going to be all over that Star Wars book.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so cool. Well, great. And then do we know when that's coming out?
October 30th, and it is
That is so
available. I
soon.
know. I'm getting. Yes.
You should probably get on that. You should probably write the book. It's coming
Oh,
soon.
bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the most
Yeah.
important part.
Amy, what are you doing here? You gotta go and
Bye,
write the book. You're like, yeah, it's gonna be great.
God, it's so soon.
I'm gonna do it this weekend. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, hearty welcome to our Alpha community. Hi, everybody. We're thrilled to be getting back into Carrie Fisher. Speaking of Women
of the
Galaxy, one of the
Galaxies.
greatest. Carrie Fisher's first novel from 1987, Postcards from the Edge. So, let's talk a little bit about the context.
87 is like it still surprises me every time I hear that, because reading through it, you're just like, no.
This is happening in 2018.
Yeah, there are some things that maybe should not still be happening as far as like the gender politics of it.
Yeah.
But, this could be about.
It could, it really could.
It could be happening right now. So, the book was written or published in 1987, of course, written by Carrie Fisher. Fisher spoke out about her struggles with bipolar disorder and addiction. The novel is semi-autobiographical. I know we talked about that last week. That feels like that's the case, while still being like a narrative and like a fiction. It still feels like she's drawing a lot from her own experiences, not just with her own bipolar
Suzanne,
disorder, but with just the industry, just the entertainment industry. It's like, that seems like it's being pulled from Carrie Fisher's real life. The novel's focus and candor on mental illness and addiction are noteworthy.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, that's how we were saying last week, or at least I thought. I don't know, but how Suzanne and Alex, it wasn't just Suzanne that is kind of autobiographical for her. I also saw Alex as being like, when you have the character that's like, it's you, just like that one moment in time, or you times like 0.1, or just that, like if one thing had gone differently, you would be spiraling down that path. Yeah,
it seems like the male characters that Carrie's writing as well, she's also drawing from her own experiences in different ways. So I also did not know this. This is how much I didn't know about this particular book, is that when we got this assigned to us, I thought that this was one of Carrie's like many autobiographies. I was like, oh, I'm excited to read like Carrie Fisher's life from her own words, and then it's like, oh, it's her first novel. Okay, cool. So and I also didn't know, or if I heard about it, I completely forgot. It was adapted into a movie starring Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine.
I know. I need to watch that.
I want to watch. I haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it either. I didn't even know it existed.
Guys, I haven't seen it either.
I've heard of Postcards. I've heard of the movie. Did not realize it was based on a book, much less a
Carrie Fisher book.
Yeah.
And I think she wrote.
I mean, we weren't the demographic.
Right. In 1987, when I was 1 year old, and in 1990 when I was 3, I'm telling my parents, like, I want to go see Postcards from the Edge. Yeah, they're like,
Shirley.
No, I wanted to see Land Before Time is what I wanted to watch.
Wasn't she in Beaches?
Yeah. I already added the movie to my Netflix through the mail queue.
So you still do that?
I'm so excited. I was like, Netflix.
Actually, I recommended it. Hey, I actually recommended it to my parents, who live like kind of, basically, for all intents and purposes, off the grid in Texas, and I was like, you guys, because they can't stream. It's the data rate is out of control bad, and
that sucks.
And so what they'll do, they'll satellite and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, but for Netflix, which is a great deal anyway, like my friend does it where
it's $8 a month for in the mail,
and you would get like how many DVDs?
Still like 3 at a time or something?
I don't know if they have those offers or those plans available. I think that if people had that plan, you're grandfathered in, but I have just the 1 disc at a time because that's all I need.
Yeah.
I don't need the stress of having 3 envelopes sitting on my coffee table. Like, I got to watch all 3 of these and send them back. Like, I've had one. The one I have right now is Wonder Woman, The Linda Carter Show, Season 1, Disc 3, and I've had it for like 6 months. So I need to finish those episodes, send it back, and then I'm going to get postcards. But I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Because I don't mind. I know it's on me. I'm paying for the service and it's on me, but I like having that option because it's like not everything is streaming, and not just on Netflix, but Hulu and and Amazon Prime
streaming
and
on
stuff.
Netflix, which I have to just bust in here because I saw it for the first time like 2 weeks ago. Mamma Mia is on Netflix right now.
And did you love it?
I watched it for the first time right after Comic-Con.
I will say, love is a really strong word. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like it is a.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you loved it.
It is a fluff piece and a half, and it's Meryl Streep's like. Her acting, you're like, oh, Meryl, what are you doing? Because she is out of control.
Really?
This woman, like, and the dancing she does, she's in overalls the whole time. It's like you're just so like, great. I would go.
So great.
Gay.
Have you guys seen Mamma Mia too? You would go gay for the Streeper? Oh,
everyone would.
Absolutely.
But especially in this
movie,
would go
she's
gay
just
and
like
then back
she's
again
like
for the
touching
herself all over the place. It's wonderful.
Fully Meryl, when it is.
Fully Meryl.
Full on Meryl.
Did you guys see part 2? Mamma Mia.
I haven't seen part 2, but that's
here
why.
We go again.
I haven't. But I
the
want
plot
to.
is so out of control.
In the first one? Yes. I watched it was a Sunday after Comic-Con. I was already home, but I was working.
What a great way to come down from Comic-Con.
But yes, I was just like, oh, this is everything I needed and more.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I just watched a Meryl Streep movie for the first time as well, completely different. I just watched The Deer Hunter for the first time.
Oh, you had never seen The Deer Hunter?
Never seen The Deer Hunter.
Hector!
Bro, it's good.
Oh, it's really, really good.
It's one of those great movies that you watch it and you're like, great. I never need to see that again. That will stay with me forever. It's great.
It's tough.
But Meryl Streep's first movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Her first movie, and she's incredible in it. And it's a supporting role. Robert De Niro's amazing.
It's like at a cool time for cinema where it is theatrical. The scenes are 20 minutes. Like
it's 3 hours long.
Yeah, the scenes are very long. Just the romance, the relationship scenes where nothing else is happening besides just that one
walking and just talking.
Yeah,
and it's 3 hours long, but it is, like you said, it's from a different time in cinema. It's 1978 when a movie would come out. That's it. It would be in theaters for 6 months, to a year, and then we would never see the movie again. Maybe if a TV channel got the rights to it, right? That's why The Godfather's so long. That's why movies of that era are that way, because they were events. We didn't have prestige television, which now we're breaking up these long stories into like a whole season or whatever. So highly recommend The Deer Hunter because the Streeper is amazing. Christopher Walken was nominated. I think he won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and he's incredible.
Also,
young Chris Walken.
I will say the roulette scene gets referred to like it is
in pop culture. I didn't know, but I first learned about The Deer Hunter from The Simpsons when it made a reference.
Yep.
And you have to come over for Simpsons Sundays. We're going to set that up.
Oh, okay. I need to. I'm not going to say it.
You've never seen The Simpsons?
I've only seen like 2 episodes.
Amy,
oh
really?
My God,
yeah, you're not alone.
Amy,
hang on.
Pause. We're about to get into this book, but pause real quick. My roommate and best male friend, Keller, and I are currently planning to do a thing called Simpsons Sundays, possibly once a month, where on a Sunday, starting at like 9 or 10 in the morning, we power through an entire season of The Simpsons. That seems like a lot, but it's like a 10 to 12 hour day.
Okay.
But if we start at 8 in the morning, you're done at 8 at night. It seems like a lot, but it's fun. We take care of each other. We get food. Relax. Because it's a lot to do that. But you watch an entire season of a show, and it's just your Sunday, and you still have the rest of your week and your life, and it's like that. We did it with the show Friends. He's never seen The Simpsons. You've never seen The Simpsons. You've only seen a couple of episodes. Our good buddy Lucas Eubank has also never seen The Simpsons. So we're going to do Simpsons Sundays.
Okay.
And everybody who's never seen The Simpsons is more than welcome to come over.
Awesome.
And you're in a safe space. And we will order lunch and dinner, and it's fun.
That's great.
Okay,
So,
I'm intrigued.
Okay, great. So the invite's open if you want to do that.
Let's talk
so you
about
don't
this
have to
book
feel
now.
shamed for not watching The Simpsons anymore. All right.
you.
So let's talk a little bit about Carrie Fisher. Amy obviously is a big Star Wars fan. You have a history with her. Do you have any favorite moments in Carrie Fisher's life, speeches, books, stories, or roles of Carrie?
Oh, everything she does. First of all, I think one of the first things I actually saw Carrie Fisher in, because I was kind of late to Star Wars, was When Harry Met Sally.
Awesome.
Which she's just fantastic.
Yeah,
Great.
you always forget that she's in there, but she's definitely
there. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
And a couple of things that happened at Indiana Comic-Con, maybe 2014 or 2015.
Okay.
She had a panel there, like just kind of a conversation with one moderator, and told this great thing, because you don't know what she's going to say, like anytime she's in front of a microphone, but it's always going to be entertaining as shit.
Yes. Yeah.
And she talked about being bipolar, and she looked down and she saw this kid. She's like, he's asking his dad what bipolar means. He doesn't know. And she's like, let me tell you, in her very Carrie Fisher, like, affected, like, wonderful way.
Yeah.
Bipolar is when you go very fast or very slow. Some days, it's both at the same time. Those are fun. And I will never, I'm just like, you are a charming force of nature. And then at that same convention she was doing, I don't know if she was doing photo ops, but she was doing meet and greets.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I've seen a lot of fan photos with those sort of photo op things that are set up. Yeah,
and I'm not usually one to do those. I have nothing against them. It's just usually not what I like to spend my dollars on.
And your time, and your time. Sure.
But I heard she was giving people, and I guess it was a thing she did, glitter blessings. So people would walk away from this with glitter on their faces, and I thought,
from like a photo op or a meet and greet.
Yes, and I'm like, I am all in for this. Here is my money.
Did you do it?
I waited in line. I did it.
How long of a wait? Do you remember?
It was like a 2-hour wait.
2-hour wait. To meet Carrie Fisher. Yeah.
Worth it. 100%.
Yes.
And I get up there, and she has Gary, her dog, sitting on a chair beside her, tongue hanging out. And she has just glitter, like a couple of containers, but a lot of it was on the table in front of her. So first she took gold eyeliner, I think it was, and drew a cross on my forehead. And then she like used her finger to like pick up glitter from the table and rubbed it on my cheeks. And like when we were doing this, I noticed she had purple mascara on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love your mascara. It's so beautiful. And she's like, oh, we have to do these things. And I'm like, I know, right? It's fun. She's like, it's more than fun. It's joyous. And I was just like, oh, I gotta go before I melt into a puddle.
Oh my
and I never want to wash this glitter off my face.
That
That's
is
so great.
And
amazing.
I'm like, I'm so glad.
I've never
Yes.
heard that before.
Yeah.
And some places they would eventually be like, you can't have your glitter here because I guess she just made like
Too much of
a
a
mess.
Let
'Cause
Carrie
glitter
Fisher
gets
do whatever the hell she
everywhere.
wanted. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, convention.
It's not a disease.
No.
Yeah. That's
Not
incredible.
Oh my God. That is
Did you get starstruck?
So cool.
I did.
Yeah.
Completely. I'm
Yeah.
like, I had a lot of things I wanted to say, but it was really just your
But you had
mascara's
like
pretty.
a personal moment with her. Like that's
It
even
was-
better. I love that.
That's really great.
It was really cool.
There's a great comment in the chat right now. Zephrin406 says, Carrie Fisher, the year she passed away, had a photo op with her at Wizard World Chicago, and she would not stop holding my foster daughter. We told people in line, sorry, but when Carrie Fisher wants to hold your daughter, you let her.
Yes,
Which is
you
great.
do.
Which is great, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Thrash wrote about Streep and John Cazale that they were dating, and he wouldn't shut up about how talented she was until people started hiring her for film. That's why she did The Deer Hunter, was because John Cazale, who is an incredible supporting actor, he appeared in 5 movies, and each of the movies were nominated for Best Picture. He died before The Deer Hunter came out. He had, at that point, had lung cancer and was dying from lung cancer. But he was dating Meryl Streep at the time. He was like 42. She was like in her late 20s. There was like a 14-year difference. She got hired from the movie because De Niro knew Cazale and they were dating. So then, and De Niro was like one of the first actors on The Deer Hunter, and he was like helping with other actors to get cast on the project. It was about Vietnam, not an easy movie to get funding on. John Cazale does the movie. Meryl decided to do the movie as another way to spend time with him, you know, at work. And then he passed away a few weeks after they finished filming. They filmed all of John Cazale's stuff first, and since he wasn't in the Vietnam sequence, they did the before and after, like all in a few weeks to get his work in, you know, before he passed away. And then he did, and then the movie came out and was nominated for Best Picture. And I mean, he was in The Godfather. He's Fredo in The Godfather. That's who he is.
Okay.
So he was in, I forget the other 3, but he was in Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Deer Hunter, and then I don't know the other 2, but that's John Cazale, that's Meryl Streep, and they seem like they're really amazing people. And then if you guys have any other stories with Carrie Fisher,
that's a
holy
good
moly.
pull. You know a lot.
Yeah.
I learned a lot
about some of
because
the history.
we had our buddy Cameron Rice come over to talk about The Deer Hunter, and he knows a lot about The Deer Hunter. So that was our little episode.
Oh,
it was
that's
great.
great.
It was really
That's
great.
great.
But that's awesome. That's a great. Thank you for sharing that Carrie Fisher
Yeah.
like
I will always
interaction.
carry that with me.
Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah.
Carrie,
Yeah, you
I'm
did. You
so
said
sorry.
it. This is, by the way, you guys are right. This is Coke Zero.
That's
This
right.
isn't. They were laughing at our wine levels
it's-
because
Oh.
you and Hector have the appropriate amount,
Yes.
and then
I
mine
mean,
looks like I'm
This is
about
Coke
to.
Zero?
My
know.
wine pours look like that sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
When we've had a day. That's a
yeah. When you,
2018
yes, but I've
Coke
had a
Zero?
great day. This
Yeah.
is just. Yeah, Coke Zero.
So let's get into the book. The previous chapters, the story follows Suzanne Vale, an actress who has entered a rehab facility after having her stomach pumped. Suzanne grapples with her illness and her surroundings. Suzanne describes her fellow patients and her outlook on life in general in those first few, I guess I don't want to say chapters because it's not really broken up like that, but the first section of the book.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's all
you're
through
right.
like diary entry, which I think is really great. Suzanne meets Alex, a patient in the clinic who she thinks has a crush on her, and he does, and he's kind of awful. The perspective is mostly Suzanne, but we get snippets of Alex's voice as well. Did you guys like this, or would you have preferred that it stayed just all Suzanne?
I liked having a different perspective, but at the same time, his parts made me so like I'm just sitting here. I'm like,
He's
why
awful.
am I clenching my hand?
Yeah.
I guess it was this hand because I was reading it. They just I'm like, you're awful. I feel so intense, but also I can see not on that level. But I'm like, I've had like not. That's not even close. That's not a good comparison.
No.
But when you start thinking about like. I really like whiskey. Do I have these like not to this degree, but it's like you start.
Oh, we
thinking,
talked
like,
about
have
we
these
talked about
hit?
this last
Like,
week.
okay.
Yeah.
That I feel like I do have an addictive personality and sometimes a little obsessive compulsive, but I tend to focus it on things that I know are effectively harmless as opposed to harmful. And we were talking with like Maud was here last week, and
Right.
and I was like, "Do you think you have an addictive personality?" And she's like, "No." And then we talk about how she plays video games for like 12 hours straight,
Yeah.
playing this one thing, and I'm like, that's kind
her
of
roommate almost had an intervention with her and that kind of thing.
Because you rationalize with yourself. You're like, well,
Right.
I'm just gonna
Yes,
play.
that's the part, yes.
I'm just gonna play till I get to the save point, and then you get to that, and you're like, this whole other thing
Yes.
unlocks. You're like, well, I'm just gonna check
This
this
is
stuff out.
me this every time I open Stardew Valley.
It's Stardew
No,
Valley, same thing.
But Alex's voice, you do start comparing yourself to that, where you're like, what
'Cause he's rationalizing.
what parts of my
Oof.
life do I let myself get away with things
Yes.
a little bit too
Just
much?
one more thing. Just one more thing. And
Yeah.
then this
Well,
is
I'm gonna
fine.
quit. I'm gonna quit doing cocaine. So tonight I'm celebrating by doing cocaine. Like that whole
Yeah.
thing of like, buddy.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's every diet ever.
Yes.
Yes.
You're like, great. I'm all set. I bought my vegetables. The carrots are there. So
Tomorrow,
tonight,
starting tomorrow.
But I still have to get rid of this bread.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get rid of this bread.
I gotta
have
get
to
rid of
eat
it.
And you know what? I'm going to miss
eat.
M&Ms so much that I'm going to eat so many M&Ms
Yeah.
that I'm never going to miss them again.
100%.
Yeah. So yes, that part of the book was a little like it. I think it is relatable just because it's human nature. It's just that Alex's character
Right.
is he sucks. A Cat Who Game says, I like that it was both. Alex sucked, but it just gives different perspectives and puts Suzanne in another light, which is really true. And I also said this last week. I feel like Carrie writing Alex and other male characters as we get into this section, like she's on the money. Like she, you know.
It's such a shame how on the money she is.
Yes,
It's-
it's a
it
shame.
is heartbreaking.
But as a man, she
I wanna
nails
get-
it.
I wanna get
Men are
into
stupid.
this
Men are stupid
section.
and awful and really terrible.
They're
and,
not, though. They're not really dumb and stupid. Here's the thing.
They
we should have the strength
Yes.
to walk away from this person instead of
Yes.
going, my God,
Let me-
you're the most interesting person I know.
Yes.
Can I dive further into your hell pit and like swim around and just really bask in the glory of your insanity?
Everybody,
I love it
Yes.
so much.
everybody has insecurity. A lot of insecurities, and so does Suzanne too, as an actress in Hollywood. And we get into it, and the Alex character does, and so does the other male character that we get into in this section. And a lot of it, I think, is so interesting from the male perspective side, is that it's insecurity coupled with the very toxic environment that is being a man in Hollywood. That stuff is wrapped in there too. That stuff is also, I think, is feeding into why Alex and the other male character are doing and saying what they're doing, as fucked up as it is. So there's so much in this that from the little I know and have observed from the environment that is the entertainment industry, like Carrie Fisher nails it, and there is a part of, look, feminism is about making sure that men and women are equal socially, economically, and politically, and that also includes bringing up women that are in so many regards second-class citizens with different aspects of life, bringing them up to a level playing field. It also does not mean ignoring things that men deal with, and the things that men deal with include toxic masculinity, which feeds back into why feminism is necessary because of the way that men think about men and women and all this sort of stuff.
You're not, because you are Hector, and you're a good person, but I can't tell if you're excusing some behavior under a title called toxic masculinity. Like
No, but what I'm
I'm
not trying to do that. But what I'm trying to do is point out that men need to be held responsible for their actions, but at the same time there is systemic problems.
Yeah, like a societal.
There are societal
Yeah.
problems.
Okay,
What
okay.
I'm trying to excuse, while not letting them off the hook, excuse men that don't know any better because that's the way they've been raised. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
With
Yeah,
the
yeah.
environment and society. So it's like the way you do that is you hold men accountable individually. You hold men accountable on a larger picture. And there are a bunch of problems that can be fixed with at the micro level. You don't raise a shitty person and you let them know what's what.
I see what you're saying.
Not trying to let anybody off the hook,
no,
but I am
an example.
saying,
This is not in Hollywood, but
Yeah.
my uncle, who's a really great person, I really
Yeah.
like him. But when all of this Me Too stuff was happening, we had a conversation, and he was like,
Sure.
"Well, there's this woman at work, and you know, he's married, and you know, he's a loving person. We all love him. He's great." He's got daughters. It's like he's a good guy. But he said at work, there's this woman there, and most days she would dress up, and I would always comment on it, how good she looks, and how you know, I liked the dress and everything. Well, this all happened, and I stopped doing that because I was just wondering like what effect I had on her, and I was like, okay, what's the problem? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so you, as a really nice, ethical, moral person,
Yeah.
questioned even your habits.
Which sound like they were like hey, I like your outfit.
Yeah, and I was like, and maybe that's a conversation where you guys could get into it and ask her how she feels about it instead of just like cutting it off cold turkey.
Sure.
Maybe that might be different and weird. But like the fact that he went there and was like, oh no,
let
what
me
if
think
it's
about
me?
this.
Like the hypothetical, what if it's me is like great. That's not
and
a
that
problem.
is better than the reverse, which I see, which is like, I can't even talk to women anymore
That's
because they'll
ridiculous.
just say,
Yes.
Yeah.
you
If you're
probably
not
shouldn't if that's your attitude.
if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about. That's the lesson to take away from that.
Yeah, but if you even question it, then maybe you are.
No.
Like if you even question it.
Oh, absolutely. Anyway.
Oh, Java Book Geek Girl points out a really good thing that's like along with Suzanne's dating choices is that it follows along with her addiction. She is drawn to the same type of guys, does the same rationalizing, breakups.
Oh my God! Did that say another thing with Suzanne's dating choices, or does it say Amy Vorpahl's dating choices?
Oh, stop! All right, let's get back into the book. Last section was Alex was writing a screenplay about the clinic, but not really. Suzanne is getting ready to leave.
Anybody can write, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alex takes notes on the clinic and
That also annoyed me.
and likes her diary entry format. Yeah, like Suzanne says that to Alex, like maybe write a diary, and so he considers that. So many of Suzanne's thoughts and musings are poignant and quotable. Instant gratification takes too long.
We had a whole section of the show last week where we had chat throw in their favorite.
And there's really good stuff in this section too. Yes. I envy people who have the capacity to sit with another human being and find them endlessly interesting. I would rather watch TV. Of course, this becomes eventually known to the other person. That's very funny. Yeah, another good quote is, the only thing worse than being hurt is everyone knowing that you're hurt. There's a bunch of great stuff in there. Super relatable.
Yeah.
So, this week's chapters or section. I feel like there was kind of two sections, right? One of them was
crumbs.
Yeah.
Crumb brulee. A banquet of crumbs.
That's not what it was called.
A banquet of crumbs.
A banquet of crumbs,
I'm
and the
just
second
kidding,
one
it
was
was not crumb
dreaming
brulee.
outside your head. So a banquet of crumbs was interesting because it was like mostly dialogue. I don't want to say it was in a script format, but it was Carrie Fisher just going like mostly dialogue and going he said, she said, he said, she said, as there were these conversations between the male and female characters.
And also, and the therapist, right?
And the therapist, which you never really hear from the therapist.
It's just
they're like
Suzanne
kind of like stream
and
of
the male character. That's right. What's the male character's name again? Jack? A producer named Jack? Great, whatever.
I'm like douchebag producer.
Yes. When this, oh my God, when this section started, I thought that this was Alex's script from the last section. I thought that now we were reading Alex's script, like he did it, and I was like,
you're like, wow, he's kind of good.
No, I was like, oh, he sucks because this is really because this
is so mean,
because it's so like.
Banal.
I don't want to keep using that word, toxic. Like it was so like fucked up, the conversation that was happening, and it seemed so much like it was the male character Jack saying stuff, and then Suzanne kind of like letting him off of the hook. That I was like, this has to be Alex's script. This has to be Alex's interpretation of the clinic and rehab and everything. But then it wasn't. It was apparently real. Like a real date between Suzanne and Jack.
I said, if we're getting into this, what I said before the show.
Let's get into it.
What I said before the show is this is it's so nice to see your life played out in these pages. It's really great.
Amy.
I know. You think I'm exaggerating. I swear to God.
No, Amy, I've heard your stories about some of your dates, and they were really, on retrospect, really funny and really, and it sucks. Some of the shit you dealt with is ridiculous, but you're great.
Thank you.
You are.
Thank you very much. So, but the disheartening.
You got to woo. You hear
that? Yes, I did. The disheartening thing is that you just look at Carrie Fisher as the pinnacle of a woman, and because a part of me is I'm always like, oh, the reason I do this is because I'm not blank 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 enough.
Sure.
Right.
But then you look and you're like, oh my God, the best woman ever had the
like
having
she's
this
dealt with the
exact same
shit, like so many of us
shit,
have.
and you're like, oh my God, great, maybe it isn't me.
It's not you.
Yeah, but
when
it
you're
could
in the
be.
moment.
But you know what it is me is her, like the way she does it, where she just keeps it fucking going, man. 2 months in, 3 months in, oh, you're with someone else. Totally, that makes sense. It sucks. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, I'll see you Thursday. It's fine.
My
like
God.
whatever.
It's so it's so hard. I'll just leave. Just no.
You did it. I know, but
brutal.
it's what I definitely, for me, it is like, God, it is so fucked up, and it interests me. It just is so captivating, the mindset and the weirdness. It's so weird to me. I feel like I was brought up so sheltered that someone with like such a twisted point of view, I'm like, yeah. tell me. I just want to have these conversations.
Sure.
I just want to know more about it. It's not great.
No, I think that's helpful.
It's attractive to a way.
I think it's really healthy. I think you said it. It's like you had a specific background and upbringing. And I think that when you're hearing the perspective of another human being, especially when it pertains to dating and relationships, no matter how fucked up it is, you're just like arming yourself with more knowledge to be like, yes, tell me more about this experience because it can help me. And the more we know about everybody's sort of experience,
I will also say
the more empathetic and better we'll be. Yes,
you guys know the book, The Game.
Oh, the dating thing, written by a dude about how to trick women into dating.
Okay,
gotcha.
But what it is, Jason Charles Miller actually knows the guy.
For a job with that dude so many years ago.
Here's what's true about that book, though.
It's a scam.
What it actually is, it's not prescriptive. People read it now and they say this is a prescription on how to get dates. What it actually is a description of this man who went around New York and just watched these people interact with each other, and he just wrote what he saw. Like, he wasn't saying this is how to go about doing it. He wrote
that's how people.
But unfortunately, that is how people have
and that's
taken
how it's
it,
been marketed.
It can't be.
It turned into like a
well,
movie.
that's how
exactly.
Yes.
Which is
really bad.
It wound up being
so
it wound up
gross.
being very, very bad, and especially for women. But apparently, that's not how he meant it.
Well, it doesn't matter how he meant it.
I know.
The end result.
I know, and that's ultimately what we were. But it's interesting to me.
Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, then whose fault is it? The publisher? Well, then you sold that book to that publisher, buddy. Like, they took it as like, cool, we're going to market this as this.
But this is what I'm saying is it my fault that I keep encouraging these like weird men? Because I'm like, this is so interesting. It's the same mindset where you're like kind of rewarding some shit behavior.
Yes.
Oops on me.
Oops on me.
In those situations, like depending on what's going through your head, like, and I've definitely been in the ones where I've talked myself into like, well, it's the rationalization. It's like, well, this level of it is fine. I still have this part. You know what I mean?
It's too real.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Guys, I just saw the movie Crazy Rich Asians last night.
Oh, how was it?
It was fun. It was a really good time.
Yeah.
So fun.
It's I feel like it's kind of like a Mamma Mia thing where you're just like, if you can sneak in some wine to the theater or go to the ArcLight that serves wine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
We haven't had a rom-com in so long, and I love them, and I love going alone to them, and I love
Dude, have you not seen it then? Go to it.
I haven't. Well, I had a
will-
bunch of shit to do this weekend.
I will say the dude in that, as much as I adored that movie, hot, super hot,
Super
but
hot.
gets away with.
He does. He's
He's never called out on
on his decisions of how he has approached this relationship.
Yes.
And I was going to say, I was going to.
He's a liar and hid everything from her.
Like
Not-
a pretty, I mean that,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yes
that's
and
one
no.
of the aspects for me.
And
Like,
then-
that's kind of important.
Another funny thing is somebody was pointing out that like Constance Wu, she's the main actress, and she's like the lead in the film. And they were saying like if she's an economics professor, like a teacher at NYU, and she is as capable and competent as she is, and even other Asian people were saying this online too, and even if she had an Asian background, there's no way she would not have Googled this guy to not know that he was super, like they're like, that's the most unrealistic part.
I will say that was my argument in La La
Life, I
Land.
feel
In
like
La La
is-
Land,
is that you
5 years
would've-
went by and
you
they're like,
would've-
oh, what are you up to?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I'm
no,
like, no,
there's
we could
Facebook.
Instagram stalk that shit
come
in
on,
5
y'all.
minutes.
They're a
Totally.
famous person. You would have known what Emma Stone was up to because her face would have been on a billboard, and you would have been like, "Oh, driving, like, oh shit," and looked her up, like,
exactly.
"Oh, okay, she's married with
Yeah,
kids."
you gotta
Great.
suspend some disbelief. The internet
I know.
takes the
It's
wind
true,
out of
it's
some
true.
stories.
But
True.
there is another relationship in Crazy Rich Asians that is it falls apart, and it's like it's one person's fault, but that person blames the other person, and the other person's like, let me set the record straight. Like,
That was so
yes,
good.
yes, I didn't do certain things, and yes, I should have done things differently in this relationship, but you're the one that fucked this up.
Don't you even?
Yeah, and it's a great moment, and it's like,
Ooh, I'm getting tingles. I can't wait to see this.
it's a great moment, and I feel like a lot of that can be applied to what Suzanne is going through. Susanna feels like she's kind of unpacking why, like it's almost like she knows, and this happens a lot of time with regular people. You know why you're fucked up, and you continue to
Perpetuate it.
perpetuate
So
it.
you
But
know
you
that
can
this is it.
recognize
This
it,
is so-
but
I can
still
extract myself.
This is
Yes.
why I
But-
think Friends was interesting because it's a bunch of people in their 20s and they're like
Into their 30s.
Into their 30s, but it's like, oops, I slept with you. Oh, I guess we'll figure it out. But
Yeah.
people in their 30s, like now you're like, why are you still single? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I know exactly why. Like
because
I've done enough
Ross
stuff
Geller,
things.
yeah.
Like I know, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
there would never be like, oops, I slept with you. We'll figure it out. It'd be like, no, I'd have like an hour-long conversation
thing.
beforehand to
Yes.
figure out like what
Mm-hmm.
would happen and what neuroses we're dealing with, and then probably it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
there would be a lot of different.
But I was going to
behavior.
say that the two men so far, Jack and Alex, kind of, but not really. Alex was just like a flirty guy that Suzanne is drawn to. It's like there are things that Suzanne could absolutely be doing to better her life, but I feel like a lot of the blame falls on these asshole guys. Like they're fucking it up. So I was just reminded of the Crazy Rich
Yeah.
Asians like relationship plot point that I thought was pretty interesting. The way that we should. Oh, is that a book? Yeah, we should read that
Yeah.
here on this show.
It is.
Oh, that'd
It's
be
a whole
great.
trilogy.
Oh, that's
It's a
great.
trilogy, really?
Oh, that's
Well, they're going to make a
awesome.
sequel. It got greenlit for part 2, so they're doing it. Director's coming back, and they're going to do it. All right, so let's talk about this section.
Okay.
Here's another great quote. My routine to intimacy is routine. That's really
Which
interesting.
is,
Yeah.
I think, kind of in so many, like, spot on. Like the little things in relationships that build intimacy, like our routine
It's
things
routine.
over time. Yeah.
It's
I was
routine.
like,
And when a
oh.
person's not there, that's when you're like, wait, that's not.
Oh, yeah, this is not, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jack is definitely
Hmm.
bad for Suzanne, but she rationalizes her not relationship with him, right? He basically gaslights her. That is exactly what happens.
He does.
And that Irish foreplay joke, I didn't get that joke.
Oh.
What's the Irish?
Oh, it was just
foreplay?
like, I guess it was just like
There
making
was
fun of
none,
Irish people.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yes.
the joke, is that
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
no
yeah.
foreplay.
But I don't know why that's an.
Oh yeah, get ready. It was like
so
get
brace
ready.
yourself.
Brace yourself.
Here's another great quote. I told him I had low self-esteem, not no self-esteem. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yes.
So Jack's POV is very damning and almost a caricature.
And
I
yet at
need
the same
to-
time, I'm like, no, I feel like I've met these dudes. Not like
I've
within
definitely
a
met that guy.
relationship, but just in the world.
The
It's
guy
like,
who's 35, seeing a bunch of different people and saying that, being kind of open about that stuff to each person
the
is like
problem with-
maturity.
the
And
problem
then
with
anytime a lady
women-
has a problem,
yeah.
he's like, she's crazy.
Yep.
She's too
And
emotional.
he literally says the problem with women is that they're just one woman. And
Yes.
if they were all women, then it would be interesting to me. But they're all
Wow.
one woman, and they do what one woman does. The other thing, I want to read this because it hit so close to home for me. Context, this is me sharing some personal information, but it's not that I've been I don't want to say that I've been single for 6 years, but I definitely had not had a serious relationship where two people, including one of them being me, looked each other in the eyes and said, let's commit to each other
Sure.
and see where this goes. So that hasn't happened in a very long time.
Sure.
So when you're saying things like routine and nuances, I'm like, I don't know what that is. I've never, I planned a meal with a person, like the same person, maybe twice, and then they're gone. Okay, but so this says.
I love that Amy's highlighted sections in the book. That's great.
I have. I've gotten so involved in searching. I've done it for so long. It does
Yes.
me. The genesis was truly to find someone, was truly to make an impact, to bond. The difference now is that since I've never found it, I proceed as if I never will. Now I'm just into looking, not finding, which is like I find myself saying similar things, to my parents. I'm like, I think I'm doing it. And I have a therapist and they're like, no, you're dating. You're like
Yeah.
doing the dating.
Yeah.
But it's just like the disconnect where it's like, oh yeah, bonding. What would that be like? Like it's just so elusive.
Oh my God. Dating's the worst thing.
But I'm really good at
in
it is the thing. Like
world.
I've gotten
Yeah.
some miles under my belt. Like I can do dating advice just like I could shit dating advice.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is your book.
What do you got?
Right this.
Oh, I've got it. What do you want to know?
Just give us a shit. Just shit one out.
I'm gonna give you the best dating advice. Go on a date mad at something, because if you're mad at something that isn't that person, you are so caught up in that you are 100% yourself and you don't give a shit. So if you have something in your head
Wow.
that it's kind of like
Give me an
stand-up
example,
comedy.
like be mad at like something that happened at work,
Yes.
or something that's happening in politics.
Something, can you believe?
Be mad, and then that's when you call a person up and go, "Let's go out tonight. I'm so mad."
But not you.
It's not bad to generate it a little bit,
Okay.
because it gives you
Okay.
something to talk about. It's like stand-up comedy. If you're passionate about something, it just is funny.
Yeah, that's a funny poll. Real quick, just pause
yeah.
that for 1 second, Amy. Did you like getting Jack's point of view? alpha question in the alpha poll. Yes, it was great. No, not needed. It was all right. And then a certain point of view. That's a Star Wars reference.
What is?
Yes, it is. I don't know if you. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah. You know, you only just got glittered in the face by Carrie Fisher, so you might not know. That's.
Thank you, Hector.
That's very funny. Good job, whoever wrote that alpha question.
That was really great.
Just a sidebar
I bet
on
that
that.
was Aaron.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nailed it.
I liked Jack's point of view, but I didn't agree with any part of it. But again, sort of like Alex, I liked reading that male, point of view as Carrie's writing it. But the whole time I was reading, I was like, oh, you're the worst.
You're
This
the
is
absolute worst.
Amy,
Yeah.
go back to what you were talking about, dating advice. Mad at something.
Okay, yeah, just go in
Get
there
caught up
mad
in
at
it.
something. It gives you something to talk about. It lights you up. It also makes you yourself. And the best thing that you're trying to do on a date is cling to your identity the best way you know how. And it has, because that so many times when you're dating, you're like, how do I fit with this other person? And it's like on a first date, on a second date,
You don't
it's not
fit.
about that. You just cling to yourself, and then if they like that, then it's fine. The other thing I will say that that is really great is don't go in there with walls up. I've had it described to me, go in there with a hotel, like as if you're a hotel, and the lobby, anyone can come in, because it's true, anyone can come in. So you can talk, it's a safe place where you can talk about fun stuff and even the future and whatever.
But they don't have to book a room.
But they don't have to book a room, and
You
they're,
can
and
deny
then
them.
have a goddamn security guard at the higher floors. Like you can't go up to the higher
Just
floors.
like
Oh.
the
So-
opening
so-
scene in Crazy Rich Asians, which was really great. Remember
Yeah.
that? Michelle Yeoh, she's fantastic. Anyway,
Oh,
yep, it's really
so
good.
good.
So that was a great scene.
But,
But
and I'm
yes.
talking about all of these are just like kind of newer dates. Obviously, like things
That
I guess
you've-
change.
Yeah, that you've
But
learned.
Okay, how many dates into it can you fart next to the other person?
oh fucking, I don't fucking care. Like if I really, that's the thing.
Wow.
Like there's
I'm
no,
like, I'm
there's no,
amazed.
there's no.
What is your life?
There's
a year
no.
in, at least.
I mean, there's no. The problem is there's no guidebook, so that's why you've got to like hold on to yourself. You've got to. The other thing is you've got to be okay with no.
Can I ask you a question? And I'm not just trying to like get us back on track. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Do you think that this book is good dating advice? Do you think that this book is helpful for people to read that are trying to, maybe that are around our generation, our age, to like figure stuff out? Do you think that there's good stuff in here, or no? This is just juicy entertainment for you.
The problem with this, and why I do like it and enjoy it, is it's only problems and no solutions. There are no solutions
true.
in here.
Good point.
And
There-
some relevant
so
like takeaways.
It's
like the
relevant
one you just
takeaways.
quoted,
It's
but-
like I see
But
myself
couldn't
in
that
there.
be part of the process of finding a solution? Is at least
So
like
maybe for
identifying the
younger,
problem?
maybe for younger people. For me, it's like, yep, been there, yep, been there, yep, been
Gotcha,
there,
gotcha,
yep,
gotcha.
yep.
This is old hat
yep,
for you.
yep.
This is old hat.
Which is lovely
Yes.
that you're like, well, wow, Carrie has these problems too. That's
But
amazing.
like you said, maybe for younger people.
But for younger people who haven't become as a GD self-aware as I've become, then maybe it's a nice mirror, but it isn't a class, I guess.
Okay, good. All right, great.
It's a glass, not a class. Like
glass with a
looking
reflection?
glass.
with a
Gotcha. So Suzanne starts work on another film in Palm Springs. This is the second section. The what was the name of this one?
Dreaming Outside.
Dreaming
Your Head.
Outside Your Head. This was really sad and interesting and fascinating and
Yes.
funny. She works on this other movie in Palm Springs, so she goes to stay with her grandparents who live there. There is so much rich detail
Oh
in this
wait,
section.
I have to interrupt. This is
Please.
the best dating advice.
Please.
This is the best dating advice.
Listen up, everybody. Listen up, y'all.
This is the best dating advice. In your first few dates, this happened to me.
Address the camera. Address the camera.
I went to a therapist and I had been seeing this guy 4 dates we went on, and the therapist goes, "Well, is he nice?" And I go, "Yeah, he's really nice." And the therapist goes, "Wrong. You don't know."
Nice.
And I was
Really
like,
good.
"What?" And
Really
he was
good.
like, "You know that he's been nice for how many hours did you spend with him?" Yeah, he was nice for those few
8
hours.
hours, yeah.
You know that he was nice to you. You know that he treated you this way in that time frame. But there's so much context that
You don't
you
know.
just don't know.
Yeah.
And he was like, you need to take everything like way slower. You can have good instincts and all of that, but yeah, you need to have that like the hotel lobby a little bit more. Like no one leaves the hotel lobby until I say so. Like that security guard better be in business.
Wow, I should have received a lot of advice from your therapist in my 20s.
I know, but it was anyway.
Wow.
That's the best dating
That's
advice.
really
is,
good
like,
advice.
Yeah.
it
I
is.
love judging people
Sorry.
based on how they
Period.
treat The Help. That
Yes.
has been my favorite thing.
Yeah.
That I'll usually like make up my mind about a person if I hear a thing about how they treated somebody they didn't need to treat well.
Yes,
like
but
a
here's
waiter
my
or
devil's
like, you know,
advocate is now people have heard people like you say that, and they'll treat the waiters very nicely.
Good.
And they still
Good.
could be a shit person.
Well, at least it still works out for the waiter.
Exactly.
That's true.
I know
That's
why.
true.
Stopped it
exactly.
with someone when they double parked intentionally because they didn't want
Ooh.
anybody to like ding
Their car.
I was like,
Boo.
oh,
how fast?
ew!
Like, how fast can this day
Yeah.
be
Oh,
over?
that's
That's
gross,
the
Amy.
worst. That's really bad.
Sorry, I had
Good
to
on you.
interrupt for that.
Good on you.
Yeah,
no, that was
no, that's
great.
great
That was great.
advice.
So we're in Palm Springs. Suzanne is at her grandparents'. There's so much great detail. Suzanne is struggling with being back at work. So let's talk about this for a second. There's some insight into show business. The feeling of having a temporary family mining for celluloid gold. They don't know if the movie's going to be good or not. Entertainment as a distraction. All of that stuff was hitting me like super relatable and real honest and real true. She knew how to act like a regular person. She was self-consciously unconscious, which is something that, coming from Carrie Fisher as an actor, to hear through the words of Suzanne was really enlightening. To go, man, that's so true and kind of messed up in the psychology of being an actor and having to pitch yourself to producers to get a job and having to,
Like
you
so
know,
many hoops and so many.
And
it's
the
a lot.
interesting she
It's a
never
lot.
mentions an audition. She mentions an interview. Like they did not. I don't think she screen tested or auditioned.
because it may have been a thing where, like, again, and sometimes this happens, I assume,
Yeah.
in Hollywood, with your agent, they book a role, they pull in a favor, you know a producer, you know this, this,
Right.
and this. They know that this actor is coming off of a stint in rehab, but that they're a well-known actor, and boom, 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 they offer you the part. And then they have an interview to come in to just be like, we're just going to check to see if this person's on the level, not necessarily
Right.
an audition for the role. We've seen her other work, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then that, in and of itself, is kind of weird and messed up. That's not normal.
And that's such like to have a
Right.
life that way. And
Yeah.
also that so much of your life has a level of being on
Yeah.
to different degrees depending on who you're playing or who
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to get an audition. Like, it sounds exhausting.
And even the segment where she was describing Suzanne was like in the car on set with her co-star, was mic'd and maybe forgot and was messing around and riffing.
Yeah.
And then that, like, the crew people, even that the crew was laughing, that's still, even though you're not on camera acting, there's an element of you got to be on. Because then
Well,
they
yeah,
would
that's what they were
right? They would
telling
film
her.
a
Like, it's
scene
like, yeah.
and they would cut, and so like she was being funny with her co-star and vice versa, and then they would
Right.
end action and film a scene and then cut, and so everybody on the set is having a great time, and being an actor kind of at the center of all that, I believe there's like an expectation to like, oh, you know, they set the standard for like a cool set. Right, Robert Downey
Right.
Jr. comes in on the Avengers: Infinity War, and like he's setting the standard for like, you know, everything's
That's a
cool
lot of
on set.
pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
Like-
just not a thing that normal people. That it's not normal
no,
in a
if
life.
you have one
Right.
meltdown, like that's what you're going to be.
God forbid you're
known
having an
for
off
on
day.
future.
Yeah. Or
You know?
just quiet.
Yes,
like,
yes.
like
Or
not even
exactly,
dramatic.
You're going to
just
be known
like-
as holding something back.
Right.
And that was a
Which-
whole
it's a whole
thing.
thing.
One day of work, one day on set.
That was a nightmare. And then like
Oh,
God
I
bless her
felt so
grandma, but
uncomfortable.
she like didn't understand at all. Like the grandma was
Yes.
like, "Oh, just and you get that too from your family but they're like, "Well, this is great. You are doing this thing and it's this." And you're like, "Yes, but what
But
it's hard to
also-
tell it that like it's still
Right.
work. Like it just
Right.
it just isn't it's not
Yeah.
it looks like the glamour layer is so thin and it's covering just a mountain heap of trash and all you see is the glam and it's
Yeah,
interesting.
Mrs. Kylo Ren says, I really like the section of the book, though. The insight into movie making and being a woman on set is really fascinating from Carrie's
Yes.
perspective. You can definitely
Yeah.
see from all the men that they don't take her seriously, or especially like as seriously as they were taking whatever other male actor.
I found
you know.
myself going into her brain
Yes.
and being like, "Oh, it's because I just got out of rehab." Yeah, that's why. That's
For
why.
sure.
course.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
the rehab, but really, it's like no. But then she says like, "I've been in the industry 12 years. I've done
Yes.
it, and they're treating me. I've just got out of drama school." And
Yes.
and you're like, "Well, yeah, actually, that is fucked up because
yeah.
if she was able to do the great work she did on drugs, then
Yeah.
and like now she's not on drugs anymore. Like she's it's just work.
Yeah.
She did it. She can do it again."
I like that one of the producers, I don't remember the name of the film, but specifically called out public domain. Maybe he's like, well, you were great in that one. Like, what did you do? As
Yeah.
if what you did on one film.
I
Sure.
loved her
would
answer.
magically
I loved her
apply to
answer
another
too,
one.
which was we rehearsed, we worked our asses
Yes,
off
it
for a
wasn't
month.
fun.
We
It
didn't even
wasn't
roll
like-
cameras.
It wasn't a
I
until-
comedy.
just showed up here.
Yeah,
The day,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
worked one day.
yeah.
She's like, listen, I booked this Friday. It's Tuesday. I worked Monday. I think I'm doing pretty good. There was just a whole lot in that section, and the question in the chat right now is, how do you like the jump from first person to third person? I thought it was great. I thought it was seamless. I thought Carrie did a fantastic job with it.
It threw me for like a second, but then I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. Cool.
Exactly. Right. I was more thrown with the second section because of how it went from Postcards from the Edge, the sort of letter format, to like the diary format, to like conversations. That threw me more than this one.
Right.
But I still think it's great, and there is just so much to talk about. You know what it reminds me of? There was a bit in Donald Glover's stand-up where he mentioned that like he has to audition for every new role, and it's the only job where you have to take a test to show that you can still do the job. As if he's going to forget how to act, like, oh, I totally forgot what I'm doing. You know, that like he made that observation. I'm like, that's absolutely true, and it's so weird. It is. It's you go to school, you're trained, you book a job on like a TV show. The show ends, and then for the next show you have to audition, like as if you don't know how to act. You know what I mean? And so and there's a lot of interesting stuff in that little bit that Donald Glover has, and I think that there's some of that in Carrie talking through Suzanne with like, you know, she's got to take a drug test for the movie, and then just one day in, it's like, they had the producer that asked her, well, do you think you can do the role? And she's freaking out, like, am I going to get fired? Like,
yeah, I just got this.
Wow.
Yeah. And did any of you, anytime she was told, like, have fun with it, I'm like, to me, that feels like you're telling her, like, just smile.
Yes.
Like, and I was like,
it's so it's such a patronizing thing.
It's absolutely patronizing.
Like as if acting weren't work, as if acting were not a job. It's playtime now, so play, you know. And it's like,
she even points out, she goes, and if it seems like I'm not trying to purposefully like mess up your movie, right? And the producer had to be like, no, I know, we know that, but it's like they're,
but you're not acting that way.
Correct. It's condescending. It felt like, you know, 30 pieces of flair from Office Space, where it's like, look, if you want me to wear more pieces of flair, just up the minimum level of pieces of flair.
What rang very true is that somebody, because people do this, they'll land on a turn of phrase or something, and then everyone would be like, that's it, and then it just gets cycled and cycled and
when
cycled.
It doesn't really mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything, but it feels safe to say, like it's not, we won't
offensive.
Insult someone by saying this, but this is what we're gonna say. And he's like, oh, I'm a theater director, and it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but you're still 26 and you're...
I do have a question before. I do want to know, because this is so dumb, but I reread it. What does it mean? It ain't what you eat that makes you fat, it's what you get. And then her grandmother has like a weird explanation for it, but I still didn't understand it.
I took it to be like grandma was kind of talking about portions.
Yeah, 'cause she's like, your eyes are bigger than your stomach.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Like, it ain't what you eat that makes you fat, it's what you get. Is fat what you get?
Oh, like, so if you get a plate, she mentions pinto beans or cold beans, but like if all you get is a plate of Taco Bell, and that's all you had
I kept reading it. It ain't what you eat that makes you fat, and then it's what you get as if fat is what you get.
So it's like
what you grab onto your plate. Okay, awesome. Thanks. We can totally move on. I know that that's like a non sequitur.
That's a good question. But speaking of the grandma and grandparent section, like she spends time with her grandparents, and her grandma tells her about her mother. And her grandmother tells her about her when she was a little kid, which she likes because she likes hearing, you know, she was like, I just remember I couldn't say the word interesting. It was interesting or something like, like she was frustrated, and her grandma was telling her about herself as a child. What is it?
She would say inserting.
Inserting.
Instead of interesting.
That was her first big frustration.
And going back to like grandma's advice, like you were saying, Amy, like she doesn't quite understand what the thing is, but at the same time she still gave, I feel like, some good, almost like down to earth advice. That's still helpful for, I think, a person in this kind of industry to hear. I remember when I first started working out of college, my first job was in visual effects. And we were working on the post-production of a movie, specifically Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland movie, his first Alice in Wonderland. That was my first job out of college. And I remember I had a supervisor, a great guy, who said, look, at the end of the day, it's not missiles, it's a movie. Like, if this thing doesn't if this shot doesn't get done on time or whatever, like, nobody dies. It's not missiles, right? It's not, your job is not, I gotta make sure not to push the button for nuclear war. That has stayed with me for my entire, in the past 10 years since I got out of college, basically. Right,
that's
While
awesome.
You just have to remind yourself, like, this is entertainment industry, that it should be passionate and fun and, you know, gives other people joy, and that's what it should be. So you get so wrapped up in all of the the stress of it and the if we're burning daylight, if we don't get this shot done in the desert on time, it's like, oh really, we couldn't shoot this tomorrow, we couldn't shoot, like there's no way we could do a pickup, there's no, like somebody's gonna die.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like it is not life or death.
That's really great.
Yes, so I feel like that was Grandma's attempt at something like that, to just be like, just be yourself and you'll be fine, kind of a thing.
But
so
she was also doing a lot of like, are you going to have kids and get married sort of
right,
stuff.
which is just classic
This is
grandma,
like a grandma
stuff.
thing.
Just grandma
I
stuff.
do, because Carrie or Suzanne says, you must have just been there when they were handing the cliches out.
Yeah, Suzanne's
First in
great.
line.
She's really funny.
Yeah.
Suzanne was like, "Oh, I never thought of that. I'll just find a guy and settle down." Yeah, oh, that's great. Or it's just the quality of the guy, Grandma, that she's like, "Well, you can't be too picky."
You got to pick someone
and just
That's
settle.
all I did. I picked a guy. I just picked him.
Yeah,
Stick
but
with
Grandma,
it.
you and Grandpa hate each other. We don't hate each other. He just stays in the back of the house and I'm in the front. It's like, that's awful. I'm sorry, but your
It's a
generation,
reasonable way to live,
you're so
right?
picky. Okay, all right,
I
great.
don't think that's awful. I know plenty of people.
Anyway, guys, this was so much fun. We could keep talking about this book, but we have to wrap
could.
up. And thank you guys so much for having great conversations in the chat. I wish we could have read more comments, but we were being real selfish and just enjoying each other's company. So
Yeah.
that's what was happening. Huge thanks to Amy Ratcliffe for joining us. Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you for
This was
having me.
fantastic.
Yay,
Where
books.
can people find you and your work on social media?
I am on Twitter and Instagram and Amy_geek. And
Can people pre-order your book?
people can pre-order my book, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, your local bookshop, all the places. Star Wars, Women of the Galaxy.
I'm going to pre-order
That's
it.
so
I
great.
cannot wait. I cannot wait. Okay, guys, so let's talk about your homework for next week. Your homework is to finish the book. Spend more time with Carrie Fisher. Like, that's a bad thing. No,
Love
it's a
it.
great thing.
Great
Also,
thing.
do not forget we're on Goodreads. Search Alpha Book Club and come discuss with us. I'm constantly reading comics and putting them on there, and that counts. Comic books
Yes.
count on Goodreads.
Absolutely.
That's literature. If you guys are interested in joining us via Skype on the show, we would love to have you. We would love to talk to a person with a face in a box. That would be great. Let us know on Twitter at Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club, and Lost in Numbers, aka Lee, is going to get you all set up. So make sure that you send us your book recommendations to @Nerdist, @Geek&Center, @Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. We're probably going to do Harry Potter Book 5 next month, but we need a recommendation for the month after, because we've been alternating for all the HPs. And that's our show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. You're the best. We'll see you next week. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.